Hi everybody, another day in lockdown, day 73 in fact, and my hair's still getting longer. I've moved on to a centre parting now, just waiting for the barbers to open really. But anyway, today is the 5th episode of 2 Solo News. This is a great episode as it features probably what is my favourite piece of kit on board my aircraft. After all, where can I get a vital array of such important integrated pilot tools for my around-the-world flight? It's often referred to as a mobile flight bag, electronic flight bag, whatever you want to call it, and you can see why. With easy-to-use features like Jeppesen charts and weather tools. It also has flight plan filing, IFR or VFR for the vast majority of my route. I think Russia's the only place where it might be a bit limited. But the flight briefing includes 3D airport visuals, 3D imagery of my entire route, so I definitely won't be going anywhere without it. So, if you guys haven't already guessed, or read the title of this video, I'm talking about ForeFlight. And this show is about how, in just 14 years, ForeFlight has become the world's leading flight performance app, and a whole lot more. Which is why I value it as a major part of my must-have equipment. But first, let's talk about a bit of history. ForeFlight was founded in 2007 when two general aviation pilots from Texas, Tyson Weiss and Jason Miller, developed a weather planning service for the first generation Apple iPhone. But then when the next generation iPhones were released, they expanded their capabilities to include flight planning. And then in 2010, when the iPad came out, they introduced IFR and VFR chart overlays, as well as other features. But it wasn't long before big aviation businesses started taking notice of this Houston-based company. And in early 2019, the aircraft maker Boeing bought the company, which, Boeing already owns Jeppesen, which made a very secure all-round package. And this was all backed by a $100 billion company. And ForeFlight now works across all segments of aviation, including business, military, commercial, and educational. But with their roots in general aviation, ForeFlight is still very much the individual pilot's preferred choice, as they continue to add and revolutionize their electronic flight bag. So I kind of look at ForeFlight like my aviation Swiss Army knife. It does a lot of things in one package. I use it as a notepad to jot down stuff in flight. I use it to look at documents with the inbuilt document viewer. I actually use it extensively when I was getting my instrument rating in Phoenix, Arizona with AeroGuard. I can import any PFD image or PFD or image, and ForeFlight will automatically download it so you can access it during flight, such as an aircraft's POH or the pilot operating handbook. But ForeFlight is much, much more than that. Let's start with flight planning. Anything that saves a pilot time is a bonus, especially when you're planning to fly to make 43 stops in nearly as many days. So this is probably my favourite thing ForeFlight does. I can plan and create my route visually on ForeFlight and then file IFR flight plans in Europe, the US, Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and the Bahamas if I want to go on holiday. But that's basically pretty much everywhere I'm flying to on the around-the-world flight. But by the way, guys, VFR flight plan filing in ForeFlight is currently only covered in Europe, the US, and Canada. So let me go ahead and do a flight plan, and I'll show you just how quick and simple this is. I'm going to use my iPad here, and I'm going to record what I'm doing so you can see everything full screen. So to do this so that it fits, I'm going to actually hold it landscape. This isn't how I have it on the flight. I'm more of a portrait person, but for you, I'll make an exception so you can see my screen. You should now be able to see my screen, and let's go all the way over to the UK here. And you can see this flashing blue dot here. This is actually where I am right now at my house, in the middle of nowhere pretty much. And if we go a tiny bit to the right, we can see Booker. This was actually I learned to fly gliders when I was aged between 13 and 15. And then if I go down a tiny bit south, we can see White Waltham. This is where I actually passed my private pilot's license, and I flew a lot there last summer. And then we move a tiny bit more to the east, we get to London Heathrow, and sure a lot of you guys know London Heathrow. You've probably been there before. Very very big airport. So yeah, that's pretty close to my house actually. But let's not use any of these airports. Let's zoom out. Here you can see the entire world, and let's go all the way over to Alaska. Let's say I've just flown in from Russia, just landed in Nome, Alaska. We'll add Nome to the route. So all you do is tap on Nome, add to route. You can press up here the flight plan, and let's say we're going on a flight to Manly Hot Springs. That's my next stop. I'll be staying there for a night on my around the world flight. So we'll add that to the route, just like that. And there you can see you've got a straight line basically. Obviously it won't be a straight line, so we can actually ForeFlight has a route advisor. So if we see it says routes number 3 around it, click on that, and you've got a recommended route, you've got ATC cleared route, and you've got airway route. What I normally do is the ATC cleared route because that's the most likely that air traffic control will accept. So here we'll click on ATC route, we'll select it, and it automatically puts it in, which is super useful. I think ForeFlight's one of the only services that provide that do this service. So after that, to file the flight plan, we see the box with the tick in it. We press that, we go to flights, and here we can check all of the information of the aircraft. This obviously isn't right for the flight, but we obviously during the flight around the world, I'll check, make sure it's all working properly. And after that, we press proceed to file. You can look, we want the form type to be FAA/domestic, aircraft 2 solo, of course, true speed, we've got all that in, time, obviously that's wrong. We've got to double check the route is correct, the cruising altitude is correct, time en route, and the fuel on board, and you can put any remarks in, airports, alternates, all the contacts, and after that you press file, and obviously I'm not going to press file now because I don't want the FAA to see what I'm doing. I don't want the FAA to have this flight plan. I'm not actually going to file the flight plan. So we'll close that. We'll leave that for now. And that's it. Super quick and super easy. To put that into comparison, actually, previous Earthrounders, prior to online flight planning, would have written a flight plan the night before, taken it to the airport on the way to their plane, taking at least 30 minutes. And, that might have been after an insanely long 15-hour flight, over the Pacific Ocean or something like that. Which is pretty crazy to do. But with ForeFlight, I would send this directly to ATC services and also send it straight over to my flight support team at General Aviation Support Egypt. Once I plan a flight, I can download a briefing. So to do this, you can see the briefcase with the exclamation mark on it. We click that, and you can see the route of flight, and it will automatically download the weather, SIGMETs, TFRs, fuel prices, NOTAMs, as well as the 3D aerial imagery, which is in that grey box around the route of flight. And I'll talk a bit about the 3D imagery after this. We also got the IFR load charts, taxi diagrams, and AFD, and the terminal procedures and VFR charts. Obviously, if I was flying this if I was flying this flight, I'd press pack and download it all. I don't need to do that now. But let's talk about the 3D. So if we click the globe with the plane in it, tap that right there, you can get this pretty cool 3D view. You can zoom in and out. You can see Nome. This is the airport right here. Pretty detailed, and it's all 3D as well. So you got the terrain is accurate. And this, if we move this slider along the bottom, we can actually follow our route of flight with every single waypoint. So if we fly over here, we might be able to see the VOR on the ground. Yeah, there it is. There's the VOR on the ground over there. Right, the MOS, Mike Oscar Sierra VOR. But we keep going. You can see all the ground is loaded or loading. If you go kind of fast, it takes a while to load, so maybe this won't work in a F-35 going on Mach 2, but you keep going, and this is taking us all the way back to our destination here at Manly Hot Springs. And here you can see what Manly Hot Springs looks like in the middle of Alaska. Pretty cool airport. And this data is accessible throughout the flight. But that's not all. ForeFlight also comes with an in-app weight and balance calculator that comes preloaded with my aircraft and over 100 others. You got Diamonds, Cessnas, Cirrus, any sort of mainstream aircraft. This means I always know the exact limits, whether flying wing tanks or fully loaded with a ferry tank. I have all the weights and balance calculations I need to fly legally, as you can see here. This is saved on my iPad, and I can email it to myself or print it off again. And this saves time and reduces the risk of any weight and balance mistakes. So ForeFlight really allows me to make notes and access data, and clearly saves me a whole lot of time and paperwork. And saving time is really a major bonus, but so is helping make my flights a lot safer. And I'm sure many of you guys know weather can be a pilot's worst nightmare, and I'm bound to experience some bad weather on my around the world flight. And so the more advanced data I get, the safer I'll be, which is why ForeFlight makes flying a whole lot easier with easy to access weather and being able to see what weather is ahead is in my path ahead. So actually, here's a bit of footage from me during a little storm last year, knowing exactly where the worst parts of the storm was, which meant I could fly between them for a much safer trip back home. Anything that gives me additional weather warnings is a major plus. Now, with the help of ForeFlight and their new project Sentry, which has just been released in Europe, I can get weather sent to my iPad in almost real time through the ADS-B system, which gives me almost real-time weather reports, which is pretty much just off the speed of an aircraft with an onboard weather radar. But Sentry isn't just about weather. It also displays other traffic. It's great to know when there are other aircraft around you when you're doing 120 knots at only 1,500 feet, which is very common around here. Sentry also displays their aircraft traffic on my iPad, so I know what's close and what needs to be avoided. As well as that, another safety feature that comes built in with the Sentry is the carbon monoxide detector. When you read about some of the carbon monoxide related accidents, it's good to know I'd get an alert before the carbon monoxide levels get too high. Anything that gives me additional warnings is a major plus. But ForeFlight also gives me peace of mind knowing what is around me and real-time terrain and obstacle avoidance. It will show me all the high obstacles on my route of the flight paths that I select in my around the world flight. And trust me, this is so helpful. While you're flying in unfamiliar and mountainous terrain, you don't know what's below you, what's around you in IFR conditions. So this is where the strength of the Boeing partnership of ForeFlight and Jeppesen come in. With the Jeppesen terrain charts developed worldwide, I can be sure that I can see what is on ForeFlight on my iPad is what's really down there. And this is really crucial, as I mentioned, in IFR conditions. Other Jeppesen charts, like approach charts, are accessible and standardized around the world, which makes flying a lot easier when you're flying from America and Russia. It's all the same thing, it looks like. For example, let's go to Germany. Where should we go? Let's go to Nuremberg, actually. Yeah, that's a good one. Select Nuremberg. We go full screen. And we can look at, let's look at an approach procedure. The ILS to runway 10. And obviously it's nighttime right now, so it's dark, but we can change that. Go to settings, invert the plate colors back to normal, and there you can see the details of the chart, really detailed and standardized everywhere around the world. So and then I can also view the airport in 3D, as I previously mentioned. If we go here, we go press 3D view in the top right corner, and here you can look at the airport as it loads in again. Here it comes. There it is. So it's loaded in, and of course I could download it and I can study it en route and know what to expect when I arrive. And it's it's such a help when you arrive there after you're tired after a long flight. So let me sum up ForeFlight. What is it to me? It's my efficiency tool and safety blanket. Efficiency because of the super fast flight planning and weight and balance app, and my safety blanket because of the awareness it gives me during my flights. It warns me about what is ahead weather-wise, around me is in other aircraft, and coming up below me is the terrain and obstacles. I'll be carrying at least 2 backup iPads on my around the world flight, which just goes to show how important ForeFlight is to my around the world flight. And I can definitely say I wouldn't leave home without it. But anyway, guys, that's all for this week's episode. Thank you all for watching. I hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Anyway, stay well, be responsible, and hopefully see you all again next week. See you later.